Hello, welcome back. So I've done a few links here. I think they fit well. All the numbers fit, but there's also another explanation of this lay that I'm going to give. So the links are to the I Ching, and we're going with hexagram 48. Right, so there's three hexagrams here. So we've got 48, which reads from page 629 to page 634. All right, so we're going to look at the lay. We're going to go, if you can go with me, we're going to go 48, page 629. Now we're using 11 as 2, but 629 to page 364. A bit, well, I prefer it straight, but all the numbers are there in order. They're all the numbers are there to fit it, and we're happy with the 29 and the 26 that we got earlier. So the 29 and the 26 is the unification of the well 629, justice and strength, and why and hexagram 48 is Ching the well. So this is showing what we are now, isn't it? So we've been doing our work, and we now become the well. We're pouring out waters. I'm going to read just a bit of this hexagram of what it says at the beginning, and then I'm going to explain it in the way that I see this well and how I am the well. Do you know what I mean? You become a well, and do you know what I mean? We're trying to bring a well of knowledge, you know what I mean? A wealth and a well of knowledge that pours out. That when we're doing this tarot, every day is different. Every day we have different number combinations, but we are still led and fed from the great well of spirit, be it whether it's the I Ching, be it whether it's the Quran, be it whether it's the Zohar, be it whether it's the Zodiac. There's a wealth and a well of knowledge that we're now tapping into because of the tarot, and because we understand that it does link to something. It's not all just, well, again, as I read earlier when I read the lay, a lot of that is intuitive, but from the point of view of knowing that I'm following particular books and there's something I'm trying to do. Do you know what I mean? And that work has to be done from really the masculine principle. Do you know what I mean? So, like, to raise up the energies and to get into the higher realms, this is more a masculine male principle force, because you have to ground and you have to go through the dark. And let me tell you now, you're going to have your back straight, because there are things in the dark that you have to overcome. So this is masculine male work, force work. Do you know what I mean? Male force work. Right, so I'm just going to read this first bit and see if I can link it, or see how, if I link it and you just get the link. Right, so the ruler of the hexagram is the 9 in the 5th place. The influence of the well depends on water, and the 9 in the 5th place is the ruler of the trigram, can water. The meaning of the hexagram is nourishment of the people, and the 9 in the 5th place is the prince who provides them with nourishment. This is nourishment. You cannot tell me that doing the tarot like this and linking to this book and to the Zohar and to the Quran and to the calendar, because I haven't really put in all the links to the Julian calendar and how all of this aligns with the calendar cycle. I haven't put in all of these numbers. You can put them into Google and it comes back with a star constellation. And that star constellation links to the stories in the Bible and in the Quran and in the I Ching. So that's just me holding back because it's just too much information. Do you know what I mean? So So this is nourishment. This no matter how you look at it, this is nourishment. True, because we're now bringing a doctrine of numbers and words that link to books, and it's not up for debate. We know that. Do you know what I mean? We've been going through this for a bit. You know, it's all about these numbers, and it's all about the tarot linking to these numbers. So that's not up for debate, and so I like that one. Then we read further down. We're going to go. He who is oppressed above is sure to turn downward. Hence there follows the hexagram of the well. The well means union. Well, what's our union? Because I'm saying the union is of sun and moon. The union is pouring out waters from the sun, masculine, from the moon, feminine, pouring them waters out so that we have penetrative vision. You know what I mean? Because the moon gives us penetrative vision of how to unify information, how to unify books, how to unify knowledge. You know what I mean? Because it all comes from one source. So then we're going to go. The well shows the field of character. The well abides in its place, yet has influence on other things. The well brings about discrimination as to what is right. Well, yeah, because we know separation isn't really correct. There can be no separation. Do you know what I mean? There is one spirit, there is one source. All of the information must unify at some level or at some point or in some place, because we can see that the books work together. One may have the aspect of working of how to deal with the body more so than one book that deals more with the mind and another book that deals more with the spirit. But them three are essentially one. No, you know what I mean? Mind comes from spirit. The body comes from the mind. Do you know what I mean? The way your body works probably depends on how your mind works more so. Do you know what I mean? You need to get a strong mind to have a strong body. We're not going to go into being disabled and all that kind of stuff, because even I rate Stephen Hawking, who's disabled, the guy was brained up to death. Do you know what I mean? So that's an aspect of problems with the body before birth, in it, do you know what I mean, or at birth, but that's nothing to listen. There are many disabled people that can drive cars, do this, play football. Listen, they're living bigger than me, man. What's going on? So we're not really on for disability being a hindrance. That's not really a hindrance. You know what I mean? You can all of these practices, spiritual practices, are not based on whether you've got two legs or not. You know what I mean? This is where we keep coming back to, or I keep coming back to. There can be no conflict, because there's always this trying to thing of you can't do this and you can't listen. You can do anything. It all links. That's where we're at. It all links. Do you know what I mean? And it matters not who you are. If you're into doing the tarot or following some of these ancient books that are full of wisdom, it matters not where you're from. Do you know what I mean? It matters whether you can grasp the information in it. You know what I mean? So I'm happy with this lay. Right. So, and then I'm going to read this last bit, which is the well remains in its place, and it has in its place it has a firm, never failing foundation. Okay, we come back to the emperor on the stone throne yesterday, right? Similarly, character must have a deep foundation and a lasting connection with the springs of life. The well itself does not change, yet though the water that is drawn from it exerts a far-reaching influence, the well is the image of a tranquil dispensing of bounty to all who approach it. Character, page 629, and our 629 is our coded 8 and 11. Do you know what I mean? Because the well pours water. The well is clean and pure. The well is cyclical, because a well is always full of water. The well can dry up. Do you know what I mean? Of course, the well can dry up, but fortunately, this well is well supplied. Do you know what I mean? It's well supplied with an abundance of sunlight and moonlight and starlight. Do you know what I mean? So this well is continuous, and this is this process of doing the work, of raising the devil to becoming the hangman in the downside up position with the number 4, the sign of 4. You're standing on one leg, you're dancing in the heavens. You know what I mean? So this light and this water just pours continually. It's the Ace of Cups. It's the Ace of Cups at the top, and it's overflowing. Do you know what I mean? This is the Ace of Cups overflowing. This is the well. Do you know what I mean? So, also, I'm happy with that. You can read all of that hexagram. But yeah, we are the well. Do you know what I mean? We're hopefully becoming a wellspring of knowledge about this tarot, or at least trying to move the tarot into a different aspect. Do you know what I mean? So we're trying to do that, and we're linking it. So with this, we hope that this is a wellspring of knowledge. You know what I mean? So we're gonna go with that, and that ends on page 634, which is for me 13, because it's going to come back to another link as well. Right, so of that link, that hexagram, and then we're going to link 63 and 64. Right, so we've got the 714 and we've got the 718. Yeah, and we know that the 714 links to hexagram 64. So we're going to go 714, hexagram 64 to the end on 718. And then we're linking to that hexagram 63, which is on page 709. 63 on page 709. We've got our 7 and our 9, and we've got our 63, we've got our 471, and we've got our 718. So we are continually in after completion and before completion. So as I was saying, we're leading from the front and the back. Well, that is after completion and before completion and after completion, continually. Because this is a wellspring, this is a well that continually flows in, flows back out, flows back in, and flows back out. This well is well supplied continually. Before drying out, it gets filled, and before the completion. You could say in terms of it gets filled when it's running out, and then as it's running out, it gets filled again. Do you know what I mean? It's continually getting filled. Do you know what I mean? It's continually coming. It's this endless waters. We're connected to the springs of life. We're connected to the spirit. Do you know what I mean? And the spirit does not fail us. Basically, this is what we're saying. Once you've made that connection to spirit, and you've been following your path, and you've raised the devil up, you know what I mean? And you've slapped him about, and you've got him under control. Listen, your energies is good. Do you know what I mean? Because again, I say we come with no deception. I need comments. I need people to be going, listen, you are mad. You're chatting utter nonsense. There's no connection between the tarot and any of these books. There's no mathematical pattern that you've come up with. That pattern, that's what we want, because that's the only way for me to learn more, to go, well, okay, well, that seems like a reasonable challenge. Let's see if we can prove that to be incorrect or correct. Do you know what I mean? So this is how we build it up, innit? So I'm happy with them too, because this is a kind of essential, a completing of the book. Do you know what I mean? Because we're now really continually in this kind of 64, 63 position. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're really in that position. Do you know what I mean? Like the 64 and the 63, before completion and after completion, because of the amount of work we've been doing. Do you know what I mean? The continued work. And don't forget, we try to do this every day, do the tarot every day. And as we see, there's knowledge to come out every day, and we're doing our grounding work, we're doing our meditation work, we're looking at what's been spoiled again, because this is a backwards and forwards process. We're looking back at the information. We're saying, yeah, we're working on what's been spoiled. We're trying to approach life with enthusiasm now, whereas before we were very depressed and very down. But now we're trying to approach life with enthusiasm. Do you know what I mean? So again, we can see how the work plays out when you start to really adjust your psychology. And we're definitely not being in no victim mentality. Do you know what I mean? We're not saying that we're not going to be in a mentality of loss, of lack, and of not being able to do, and of not having. Do you know what I mean? So that's an adjustment that has to be made. So I'm very pleased with those connections to the I Ching. I can't find the connection to the Quran. Again, this is probably a lot of mental work at this time. Do you know what I mean? So I'm happy with that. And then what's the other one? The other connection we had is, this is also a kind of code in here. How do you balance the 13? You balance 13 through the number 6. So on here we've got 11 as 2. So you balance the 6, or you balance it with the 1. Yeah, the 1 creates balance, but this 1 is 11, so it's 1 1. Do you know what I mean? It's 1 1, it's 2, and it's also 11. Right, so let me get into this. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. There's and this is another point. There's a 7 here, so we do have a 7. Sorry, I haven't put that in. Where's my pen gone? All right, sorry, I haven't put. Where did I put that pen? I'm always losing the pen. I'm going to put the pen now. Where's my pen? Listen, don't wind me up. Where's my pen gone? Stressing me out now. I will crack up. Right, where did I put the pen? Sorry about this. Over there. Where's the pen gone? Right, okay. Stay there. I'm going to pause for a minute because I've got to. Right, found the pen. Right, so, what was I saying? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's no single 5 within the box. So we've got 15, which is 1 and 5 equals 6. But there is no standalone 5. So there's no standalone 5 in the box, and there's no 5 in the outcome numbers. So there is no 5 in the whole of this lay. The number 5 is missing. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, no 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in all of the outcome. So we've got all of them numbers. We haven't got the 5. This is how I'm explaining this, right? 5 is absent because 5 cuts off. 5's like an awkward number, do you know what I mean? And it cuts off. So I'm going to link this into the cycle of the year, the 365, which is a cut-off cycle. Because once we go past that 365, you start again from 1. Whereas I'm saying the year cycle really should be this 368. Then it goes back. We start again at 1, but then we go to a 369 for 3 years, isn't it? Because obviously we got to put the leap year in. So for 3 years we're going to do the 368. Then on the 4th year we're going to do a 369, because that now comes back to itself. It comes back to a 9. You know what I mean? Or a reverse 6, and we start the cycle again. But then we go 368, 368, 368. Then we go 369, which brings us back to a 4-year greater cycle. There's more time in that cycle. There'll actually be more time. There's more time in that year cycle, not only because of the extra days in it, but because that numerical harmonic as the inner number, you've got more time. Like, I know it sounds mad, I know it sounds crazy, but it's not. There is actually more time tied up in the calendar. Even now, there's more time in the calendar. Do you know what I mean? So this plays into that. But what we're saying here is that 5 cuts off. There's no number five in this outcome. And we're looking to balance the 13. And you've got to balance the 13 through I'll put it in. So we can put it as, let me explain this so we get into this. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8. So that is by 2. Yeah. So that's balance 2, 4, 6, 8. But the balance key is the number 6, because we've got to balance odd numbers. So we've got to balance the 3, 6, and the 9, which are odd numbers. Well, you balance odd numbers through the number 6, because number 6 is 3 and 3, 2 odd. But then it breaks down to 2, 4, 6, which is duality, which is the 2. That 2, and again, there's a 2 in the lower outcome, but not in these side outcomes. And it's usually these side outcomes for me that are more important. But that 6 then flips to a 9. So this is where 2 balances. It balances it because the 6 can flip to a 9, which can't be balanced by 2, but it is a 3. Do you know what I mean? It's the 3s. Do you know what I mean? The 3, 6, 9. Do you know what I mean? So it's by 3. So we balance the 13 because, again, we want to go to a 3, 6, 9 cycle. Why? Because it balances a sun cycle with the moon cycle, rather than us just being under a solar cycle. The moon has to be recognized. So that's where we balance it, because don't forget, this work is about balancing the moon, that other light, that other realm. Do you know what I mean? Because when you pass from this realm and you go into that realm, you need to be balanced. Do you know what I mean? Because if you're not balanced, you're going to go off. Do you know what I mean? If you've been doing your work, and I say if you've stilled and grounded the spirit, if you've been doing your work and you've stilled yourself and you've grounded your spirit, you can pass over as you. You know what I mean? There are elements of your psychology, and you recognize yourself, passes through. But if you haven't been doing your grounding work and stilled the spirit, is this that you go into like this dispersal? It's like you're dispersed. So you go into everything, you go back to nature, you go into everything, you know what I mean? But if you have been doing it, you can pass over as you. So and that can only happen if you can balance the moon's light, if you can balance a 13 cycle. Do you know what I mean? If you can bring balance to the number 13, 1 plus 3 equals 4. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to put 4 square stability into the odd cycle of the 3, 6, and 9. Do you know what I mean? There's got to be a hidden 4 within that cycle, within those numbers, because that's what brings stability to them numbers. And we can see the stability as 3, 6, 9. 9 flips down to a 6. 2, 4, 6, 8. Do you know what I mean? So they all work by 2, but the 6 works by 3 when you go to the 3, 6, 9. But there's no conflict there. Do you know what I mean? Because we understand that the stability is in the 6 and the 9. And don't forget, this 6 and the 9 is really important to understand that reverse, because I don't do the reverse. Like, I don't think it's not necessary to reverse the 3 of wands. Like, even the way I see it is, you can't reverse a sword. If you was not using a sword from the hilt or from the handle, you'd be stuck, wouldn't you? Do you know what I mean? So this is why I say downside up and upside down, because is there any negative? I don't think there's just lesser situations I mean, there's just good situations and lesser situations of the good. It doesn't. Everything doesn't always have to be bad because it's not good. Do you know what I mean? It can be good, but a lesser situation. It's not as bad. It's just lesser. Do you know what I mean? So this is how we're starting to understand all the information and understand what's happening in the world. What's good for you is probably bad for somebody else. What they think is bad for them is good for somebody else. So it's not a case of things being good or bad. It's a case of your perception and the lesser situation. What is the higher situation? What is the more situation? What is the lesser situation? And again, that's not good or bad, is it? It's just, and again, even that is like, even what I'm saying is can be taken way out of context because, well, again, it'd be like, well, yeah, if you lost a leg, it's a really bad situation. But I suppose in the good light is that you only lost one leg in it. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what you'd say, and that's the silver lining that you would look for. Unfortunate that you've lost a leg, but you haven't lost both of your legs. You know what I mean? And you'd really have to learn to think like that. Do you know what I mean? Because what's the alternative? Oh, woe is me! I've lost a leg. Do you know what? Take the other one. Well, no, I'm going to learn how to walk again with one leg. Do you know what I mean? Because that's the lesser situation. That's the lesser, but a compromise. And there's not much we can do about replacing the leg. But you know what? I'm going to have to work on the other leg and get me stronger. You're going to be the hangman stood on one leg, ain't you? Do you know what I mean? It's going to put you into your Godhead. You know what I mean? Listen, I had an accident. I lost my leg. I've got one leg left. Do you know what? I'm going to build this leg up so that I can run and walk just as far as if I had two legs. Because what is the alternative? You do nothing. You stay in the wheelchair. What? You stay on crutches. No, you now got to build that leg up. So that's just an analogy that I'm just putting in there to say about this. Do you know what I mean? And why we have to balance the 13, because that is all of the negative of the devil. Do you know what I mean? Because he will allow all of the crap to get in your brain of why no, just forget it now. Life's over. Life's done with. I've lost a leg. That's it. Forget it now. Do you know what I mean? And life isn't over. Do you know what I mean? Adjustments have to be made. Do you know what I mean? Adjustments have to be made. But life's not over. Do you know what I mean? And that's the only thing we're trying to do is always come to the positive and always look for the positive and the benefit so that we can still stand, even with one leg. We're going to stand with the Godhead. Do you know what I mean? We're going to flip it around. We're going to turn it around. We're going to be, pardon me, we're going to be the hangman in the downside up position. And we're not going to sacrifice our life and sacrifice the other leg because we've lost one leg. Do you know what I mean? Because an aspect of us has been broken or missed or been lost. We're not going to sacrifice the rest of us or the rest of our lives or the rest of our being because of that one thing. We're going to flip it round and become and stand strong on one leg because we're still an emperor. It's just simple. We're still a sign for. We're still an emperor. Do you know what I mean? So we're going to be an emperor with one leg, essentially. Do you know what I mean? So that's what I was thinking. I know I've gone off a bit, but that's what it is. It's about balancing this 13, and this is where we come to this cycle of going past the 365. You know what I mean? Because again, 5 is linked to cutoff. It's either 5 or 6 that's kind of like links to hexing. Do you know what I mean? Or the psych or the scythe. Do you know what I mean? It could be the sickle, the cycle, the sickle, the scythe. Do you know what I mean? Because 5 cuts off, and we don't want to cut off. We want to go into a new cycle. Do you know what I mean? We don't want to lose what was gained in the last cycle. We want to just go into another cycle, and you're creating again, and you're building up again, and you're building up again, and then you come to the end, but the beginning of a new cycle, so that we're always carrying all of what we've gained with us. Do you know what I mean? And because this is what happens, and this is the problem with the cycle now, this 365, because it really does psychologically cut. And we want New Year's resis. Do you know what I mean? Well, there's no need for New Year's resolutions because the cycle continues and we're building up. In fact, if anything, do New Year's resis every 4 years. You know what I mean? That's a 4 year thing, because any project that really you're going to do when you want to grow, probably going to take, like, if you're building a project and it's like you're doing a big deal, it's probably going to take more than a year to get that project going. Do you know what I mean? So if you're trying to do anything just within a year, and again, this is not saying that you can't do something in a year, you can't do something in 6 months, you can do something in a month. But I think when you're building long-term projects or trying to do something vast over a big time, you probably need a lot of your attention and investment. Do you know what I mean? And that's probably might take longer than a year. Do you know what I mean? To build a solid foundation to it, do you know what I mean? It might take longer than a year. So we really want to work on a 4 year, it's a 4 year project, in it. Do you know what I mean? You want to build things up over the first year, the second year, third year, you're established. Fourth year, you're starting to do well. Now, if when it cuts off, you're already stable. You know what I mean? You've just done a 4 year, you've been doing this thing for 4 years. Listen, it's stabilized now. Then you go into another 4 year cycle. That's pure growth. Do you know what I mean? Because the foundation's laid. We've been doing this. Now you're on another 4 cycle of pure growth and an upward movement. So that's where I'm trying to link this in. Do you know what I mean? To why I keep coming back to this 369. So I'm saying I've linked that to the I Ching and the well. And again, the well flows. If anything, this could be a psychology of a well that overflows. And on the fourth year, again, we could say this with like droughts. There could be rain, but every 4 years there's a drought. You know what I mean? It dries up. But after that 1 year cycle, bam, it wells up again, and the well is replenished for another 4 years. So that's how to understand this. But we know that once you've made the connection to spirit, once you've been on your path, and you are connected, and you know that you connect, listen, that you can't break that connection. You know what I mean? It'd be very hard for you to break your spiritual connection once that connection's been made. Like I said on a previous video, you would have to completely stop doing, and even that wouldn't stop your connection, because you're connected. Do you know what I mean? You've made the connection, and you wouldn't stop doing it. Like, I can't stop doing this. I know I'm on point with this. This is a case now of, like, really, I need to link all of the hexagrams with all of the surahs, with all of the verses of the Zohar. Do you know what I mean? To essentially create a new book. Do you know what I mean? A new book that is mathematically correct to all of these books in one. Do you know what I mean? With all the star constellations and everything. It's a big ask, but I've been doing this for a bit, and now I feel very confident that it's not debatable. Do you know what I mean? This is not, I want debate. I want a debate. I want to argue, not argue with someone, but I want a debate about it, because we can see that the tarot links it. Do you know what I mean? We can read the line, we can read the numbers, and they work. So I'm really pleased with that, and I think you should have a look at the I Ching and move towards, this is what we're doing, we're moving towards completing the 64. Do you know what I mean? You want to be a complete 64 within you, and that's where we come to before completion and after completion continually. Do you know what I mean? Every morning we wake up, we're meant to, you know what I mean? Because it's before the completion of another cycle, another day. And then after completion, when we go to bed at night, we're mint, because we're after the completion of a day. Do you know what I mean? Of the cycle. And what is it? Keep it in the day. We're not thinking too far into the future, and we're not harping on about the past. Do you know what I mean? We can't do anything about that. Again, even though I was saying with delay, hopefully sometimes you get the opportunity to revisit the past or revisit events that have happened to you, and we hope that we can approach that with enthusiasm if we can do something about it. Again, you can't change the past, but events may come up again, especially if we're stuck in karmic cycles, where we can look at something, be in the same situation again, and approach it very differently, or deal with it very differently. to come out of being in karmic cycles. We want to release karmic cycles in it, and we want to get into positive cycles. So I'm really pleased with this lay. Again, I think this is more because it's led to the book, but I wasn't really looking at it as in leading to a book. I couldn't see that instantly, but I can see the balancing of the 13, especially with our 8 and 11, and our 8 and 11 coming up twice. And another thing is that there could be, I was thinking in terms of, is it 13? Should it be 13, 29 day, 13, 29 day months, or 13 months with the months that are between 26 and 29 days? So you might have so many 4 months that are 28 days, 1 month that's 27 days, the other 5-6 months that are 29 days. It might be that they're all 30, or we have it the same, and then you add another month that's another 28, which would link to the 128-day month that we have. Again, links to the 29-day in a leap year. You know what I mean? Because February is the feminine principle month. We unify and link the second day of February, hidden day, and this is going to come out because I've already done this, but the hidden day, the 32nd day, this relates to St. George as well. The 32nd day, a day that cannot be found in the calendar because you don't have 32 days in a month, but it is in the calendar because there are 32 days. You go past the 32nd day in it when you're counting by the Julian calendar. But you can't find that day in a month because there's no 32 days in a month. But it's a very important day, do you know what I mean? And February, 2nd of February, Lunar New Year. So we link the Lunar New Year, the moon, to the Solar New Year, 22nd of August. Our opposite number, 22nd, is for the sun. 13 is for the moon. Do you know what I mean? So we're looking for the 31st day, which essentially is the 32nd day. Is the second day of February. The 31st, the first day of February. 32nd is the second day, Lunar New Year. It'd be the 31st because it'd be coming from the east, and it'd be the day before we celebrate it. So we've linked our 31 and our 22 to the lunar cycle, true, from the east, and our solar cycle, true, from the west. Do you know what I mean? And that's the only union to make, the sun and the moon. All the stars play out through the realms of the sun and the moon. Because the moon goes through all the star signs, and the sun goes through all the star signs. Do you know what I mean? So that's the union. That we'll go into that a bit later when we come to the true pagan path of the year. Do you know what I mean? So that's going to come up next year. So we'll have a look at that as well. Do you know what I mean? So, but I'm happy with that. So I encourage you to go and read the I Ching. The numbers all work. The 714 is the last page. Well, 709 to 718. That's the completion of the I Ching. That literally, to be continually in 63 and 64 is the completion of the I Ching, or embedding that whole process within you. Do you know what I mean? That whole process is within my psychology, as it were. Do you know what I mean? Because I've been doing this for a bit, so it's embedded. So I'm happy with that, right? So I hope you found that interesting. I think you should have a look at the I Ching, and then and that lay. I've posted that lay. Do you know what I mean? And I've put the balance of the 13. But I'd hope you to look at the earlier video, because this lay, very positive, very direct lay that shows where the devil sits now. Do you know what I mean? And he's been raised up, and he's no longer causing havoc. So he's been put in his place, and that's where he needs to be. We're not saying we have to get rid of the devil. We're just saying that we have to put the devil in his place. You know what I mean? He's got a time and a place in age. You know what I mean? And we, or you, or I, control the time and place of him. You know what I mean? We do not let him run amok in our lives. We're not letting the devil run amok through our lives anymore. We're not doing that. He will get slapped up and he will get put in his place, and that is a willpower thing, and a strength thing, you know what I mean, and a justice and a balance thing, you know what I mean. So for me, the work is correct because it only leads to that. So thank you for listening, thank you for being with me. Please subscribe, because I don't know why anyone's not commenting on these things. Any comments. But like, yeah, and then we'll do another lay tomorrow, do a recap on this. Hopefully, if you've got it, you know what I mean, you understand where I'm coming from. Do a recap on this, and then do another lay, and then again we'll have a new lay and new information, and we'll see where that brings us. You know what I mean? So thank you, and please subscribe.